We are live, my friend. And
Woo.
here come all the comments that are going to be saying that I'm late, but my apologies to everybody. We had some technical difficulties on our side, but what matters is we're here. Happy New Year to everybody, and Happy New
Happy New Year,
Year.
everybody.
Yes, yeah, and you see already special guest today. He is one of my best friends in the entire world. Once again, welcome back to the channel of the Spoken Misc podcast. He is the host. Check him out on Spotify. His stuff is awesome. It's really great. But here he is, Francisco Alvarez. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Zach.
Absolutely. But man, I don't know about you, but I feel a great sense of relief right now.
I do too. It feels like we left 2020. We're leaving 2020 behind us. There's the vaccines coming out. I think it's going to be great.
There is. And I actually, it's weird. I say I'm not a math guy. I'm all in the arts, but for some reason I was really fascinated by this math. According to the CDC, 1.3% of Americans have gotten their first dose of the vaccination at this point. So, I mean, we still got a long way to go, but light at the end of the tunnel. Happy New Year, Duff. Thank you for joining us. But in the year that I will now be calling the year that shall not be named, the Voldemort year, otherwise known as last year. I don't want to say the number because it's a complete error. But we got a lot of really fascinating pieces of entertainment, mostly through streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been asked by many people what my top 10 films of the year are. I guess you can call this the video where we kind of talk about our favorite films of the year and our favorite TV shows of the year. And we're also going to be talking about what we're looking forward to in this next year, 2021, because there's a lot that's coming out. And I'm really excited to go back to movie theaters on a regular basis. It's something I've missed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things that oh, so my lights went out. Hold up. My camera has light, so hopefully that does nothing. Woohoo! Does it do more if I do it like this? It's enough to see my face. Woohoo!
Yeah. Oh, you're good.
So, in case you're wondering, people, why my screen got all black now, it's because my light in my room, if I put it for the highest setting too long, because it's like on a dimmer, it turns itself off because I don't know, it craps out, and so I have to rely on the computer screen and then my camera's light to deal with that. But having said that, for 2020, I really wish that there were more movies that I could talk about, because it feels like everything that I wanted to see this year got pushed to 2021. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit once we get to it, because I think this year was like peak for like TV shows. It was like, if you had a show that came out in one of the streaming services, you were destined for success pretty much. That's what we saw with a few things, but I'll let you segue us off.
Well, So, I mean, there were a lot of things, to your point, that got pushed back into this year now. And I'm really excited to finally get an opportunity to see those. But this past year really actually, I'm kind of glad, because it actually kind of opened up my eyes to like the streaming realm also. I mean, I love physical media, obviously, let's not kid ourselves here, but like Netflix and Hulu, they're coming out with so many really cool projects. I don't know if you guys have probably seen my ranking in various like comments that I've made on other people's rankings, but my favorite film of the year of last year was actually Hamilton. Which is like, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, what, Hamilton's not a film. And I'm like, yes, it is. I mean, the way they presented it on Disney Plus last July, perfect timing for it to come out, by the way, day before Independence Day, or right on Independence Day, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember.
It was like technically like July 3rd, like 9 p.m., which is, midnight for the East Coast or something.
There you go. Yeah. And that's like usually the time we would go to see like a Thursday night Marvel screening anyway.
Exactly.
Like 9 p.m. on a Thursday night, the day before wide release. But that was my favorite film of the year. That was like, I mean, I've been privileged enough to see it live twice. But seeing it, in this medium, like in a realm where everybody can have access to it, was so inspiring to see.
Yeah. And the thing that I loved about it is because I never got to see it live. Like, I never had the chance. I never, managed to find tickets in time, and I felt like I was never going to see like the original cast. You know, like it was just one of those things that I was just never going to see Lin-Manuel as Alexander Hamilton, and I was kind of bummed out about that because like he's partially the reason why I think it's so successful is because he's such a powerhouse as a person, and
Mhm.
also because he's a very proud Latino creative, and he's really good at what he does, and to see him excel in everything that he's doing was a real treat. It was a really great treat, especially for everyone who already had Disney Plus this past year.
Yeah. And Disney Plus is cranking them out, man. I mean, like with all these announcements with Disney Investor Day, I did a whole other live stream all about that. But like, they've been busy bees for sure.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think especially with the postponement of In the Heights into this upcoming summer, like it was a genius move on Disney's part to like move Hamilton up a little bit. But that was my favorite film of the year. Like technically, if you want to call them like films, my favorite ones would be Soul. Speaking of Disney Plus, I'd probably put that third favorite. Trial of the Chicago 7 was on Netflix. That's actually my pick to win Best Picture, if I'm being honest. Yeah, it was so good. Aaron Sorkin just knocked it out of the park.
I have a feeling he normally knocks it out of the park.
Oh, did you see Molly's Game at all?
No, I haven't seen Molly's Game or the Trial of Chicago 7. It's been on like my list to like watch it, but I have to be in a certain mood to watch like specifically those kinds of films because I think like especially for Trials of Chicago 7, politically charged movies, I have to be in a right mood for it because it hits you a lot harder if you're like upset or like if you're in a if you're paying too much attention to the news.
Yeah, if that came out like in June of last year when all the protests were going on, it would have probably hit way too hard. But it came out, I think, at just the right time where the where the wounds were starting to heal a little bit. It came out in October of last year, like right beginning of the month. So it really hit home with me. It struck a chord. I also just went to the drive-in to see Promising Young Woman with my girlfriend.
Oh. How was that? How was going to the drive-ins?
Going to the drive-ins is like, it's a lost art. It was a lost art before the pandemic, and it sort of is to an extent now, but where we live, that's like the only way we can go to the theaters right now is at the drive-in. And they're showing like all these new films like Promising Young Woman. That's where I saw Tenet also, which is another one of my favorite films of the year. But that was a really fun experience, and I have a whole review of all of these that we're talking about. But yeah, that really Promising Young Woman is an emotional roller coaster, man.
It felt like from
nuts.
The trailers that I've seen, it seemed like it was going to be kind of like it did seem like it was going to be a roller coaster of a movie, which I mean, that's good. That's kind of what you want sometimes in a movie, a roller coaster.
Yeah, I felt myself tearing up at one point towards the end when a certain event happens. Those of you who've seen Promising Young Woman will know what that is. And I was like, this can't be the end. And there was a point where I looked over at Lauren, who was sitting right next to me, and I was like, I am so sorry I took you to see this. I was not aware of what this was. And then the movie goes on, and then she just like wanted to stand up and cheer, which really made me happy.
That was good.
Yeah, but no, man, it was I mean, up and down year for sure. There was another film called Run on Hulu that really was so awesome. I love that. It reminded me a lot of Misery. Sound of Metal was another good one. I got a lot of love for that on the last live stream. I feel like Sound of Metal is one you'd really like, Cisco.
Maybe I see this is the problem of like the pandemic happening, because like I love film and I love movies and everything, but I always feel the need to watch them in theaters to kind of get like the true experience. And that's kind of like what hampered me a lot this year, is because I'm so used to like going with Gabby and going out to the theaters and going out and doing these certain things. But there was not a movie, in my opinion, at least this year, that kind of drove me to go out to like to risk my health during the pandemic. And then also because, life goes on and you have to figure out, what to do day to day. And so I feel like I personally missed out on a crap ton of movies this past year. But what I did make up for it was with the streaming shows. That I think is where 2020 really excelled. The ability to just binge watch and continue on like
Yes.
a journey for 8 to 10 hour episodes. Like, I think that it proves that streaming is king for television. I think that it is the perfect distribution way, like perfect distribution platform for television.
For sure. What were some of your favorite shows of the year?
I think the top show of this year was probably The Queen's Gambit. I know it's like overrated and overhyped as hell, but like genuinely, like the cinematography, the acting, the story, like it's just, it is so well put together, and it is so, I don't know how to say it. I can't say it without like feeling like a gushing over it, because I feel like it's a good show.
You can gush all you like on this show.
True, but it's a good show, but it's a limited series, and so they had a finite end, or like they had a planned ending, and so they could just cram as much, I guess, beauty into the rest of the show. Like the costumes are gorgeous, like the settings are gorgeous, like everything they've done is phenomenal, and I really like love that this is the age where stuff like that, like something that wouldn't have been on a network television show, like Queen's Gambit could never have been on, like, let's say TBS or some other like normal network show. They would have never picked it up because chess is boring or something. But the filmmakers found a way to, one, make it interesting, and then two, make it impactful because they tied it to the characters that they were presenting, and it just made it so much more amazing when you could, watch as much as you want at your own pace and follow her journey along. And Anya Taylor-Joy is honestly one of the best actresses of our age. Like, I genuinely want to see her do more bigger, impactful things. I know she's in New Mutants, but I personally refuse to see that movie.
It was not very good.
I figured
there were things, and it really pains me to say that, but like as I was waiting to see that movie at a drive-in, that's when I found out that Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away. While waiting for that film, I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I was like,
that must have sucked to hear that terrible news and then to watch a terrible movie.
New Mutants really did not make me feel better that night. But it was no. Speaking of Chadwick Boseman, there's another movie on Netflix that just came out a couple weeks ago called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
I've been meaning to see that. Based
off an August Wilson play. Cisco, that he will be T'Challa forever, but that performance was the best of his entire career.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. It was so. I don't know if it was like, I don't want to spoil it, but like
it just
tugs at your heartstrings, man. Yeah. Right. It was just so great. Let's see. We're actually gonna catch up on some comments real quick. But the Queen's Gambit, I've been meaning to watch that for a while, but I've just been binging other things. Dot says, not to brag, but I got the vaccine the other day because I'm an essential worker. Hey, heck
good
yeah,
for you.
Dude.
Thanks for your contribution to society.
Yes. Thank you so much for your service. It really does. It's awesome. It's awesome. Let's see. He also says, I saw Hamilton live in NYC. Super expensive with Lin-Manuel.
Jealous. Man, I will never get to experience that, and that kills me.
I'm so jealous of you right now. like that is
like the jealousy is seething in me. Like I am smiling, but I am irked.
Well, not only that, but he also got to see Leslie Odom Jr., the original Burr. He also presumably got to see, I'm assuming Daveed Diggs is Jefferson too. Daveed Diggs is the man. I can't wait to see him play Sebastian in The Little Mermaid, by the way.
Dude, I want him to be more, and I just want him in more of everything. Like Daveed Diggs is just that, he's got that kind of like, I for lack of a better way to describe it, that kind of swagger, that kind of just like, I want to see more of in like films. I just want to see more in that realm. Not to say that he doesn't, succeed in theater, but I think he would like just blow it out of the park in film.
Yeah. He's in Soul briefly, but it's still a pretty fun part he has. He also says, now I'm curious to see if there's any new shows on Disney Channel. Well, I mean, I haven't watched Disney Channel since I was like 6 years old. So,
I know there's stuff on Disney Plus.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff on Disney Plus, like The Mandalorian, which we can talk about in a minute.
Yes.
Hey, Nerdy Blurb, how's it going? Just got to say I'm a huge fan. Zack too for life. Thank you, my friend. And those
Thanks,
of you who
Nerdy
are
Blurb.
new here, also, yeah, please consider subscribing if you're new here. It really would help out the channel tons.
Subscribe.
It is free for
like,
sure.
comment, subscribe.
Yes, absolutely. Like, share, subscribe all the way. He also agrees with you. Theaters all day.
Yeah, because that's the thing about like being at home. Like I like watching personal movies at home. Like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. That's like a perfect at home movie. That's like I want to have my personal reaction to that, and I want to cherish it, and I don't want anyone else to see me cry. Basically, that's kind of how I operate. But I also want to support theaters and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure theaters are going to be zooming back to life in 2021. Pun absolutely intended. Austin misses places. I do too, my friend.
That is a feeling everyone shares.
A lot of love for Queen's Gambit I'm seeing in the comments, man.
I'm surprised you haven't seen it. It's a phenomenal like a testament to one, acting and also storytelling. Like genuinely, I think that you would appreciate it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Let's see. The Boys. That's a show I've been meaning to watch. I just haven't gotten to do it.
The Boys is honestly one of the best fucking shows on TV.
That's what everybody's telling me.
It's because it's timely, it's relevant, and that it's also poking fun at, the Marvel cinematic Disney, like Disneyfication of superheroes. Yeah. And it also makes it bloody, violent, and like strangely, like superheroes are real, but the things that they do are realistic. So like if someone gets lasered in the face, their, like skulls and eyes get burnt out. Like you will see that. They show that. And I think that's a perfect way to kind of, one, make everyone sympathize with the human characters because they are treated like bags of meat throughout the entire show. Yeah. And then once they stand up for themselves, it's very fascinating. I don't want to ruin anything for you, but when you watch it, I want you to talk about it.
Yeah.
Also, this is the first year that I got to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, both the original and Legend of Korra. First time because of the pandemic. So thanks, COVID. You let me watch Avatar.
Thank you, COVID. Thank you, COVID, also because I got to finish Breaking Bad. And my dad and I are currently in a heated binge of Game of Thrones. So he is way ahead of me because I've just had so much other stuff to do. But I just finished season 2, by the way, to the viewers. So expect a review of that very soon.
Seasons 2 through 4 are some of the dopest.
Season 2, yeah, I really, really loved it. Kevin is asking where my Lord of the Rings review is, and a lot of people are asking where it is. Okay, you guys want an impromptu Lord of the Rings review right now? Let's see. Fellowship.
Wait, hold on. Did you watch this in 4K? The new 4K release? Because if you did not,
I did not know.
Did you watch it in Blu-ray?
Well, I have the Blu-rays. I have the theatrical, and I have the extended cuts.
Okay.
So,
because I got the 4K version, and I've been putting it off to start off in the new year. Like I want to go off on a journey on the new year, and I don't know. I hope I can watch it and like get everything back again by the time your review comes out, so we can talk about it.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know what? I think we should actually save this topic for another live stream. Like Cisco, you and I should do another one of these at some point, and we'll talk about the Lord of the Rings. That'll be exclusive. So, by popular demand, there it is. So, expect it very, very soon. Kevin also says, I just watched Soul. I thought that was such a great movie. It is.
Soul is so great.
It is. Also, quick announcement. I will also be doing a Pixar ranking, and I'm going to be bringing my girlfriend back on to help me rank our top 10s. Soul is going to be in both of ours. I don't want to spoil where it is on both of our lists, but it really, really affected me for sure. He also just ordered the 4K collection.
There you go.
There you go.
You got to have the 4K. Like I've been so like anxious to start watching it because I don't watch one movie and then wait a day. I watch all of them extended edition back to back to back. I have an entire day set for Lord of the Rings because that's how I need to watch those movies. That's how I need to do it because it's like I go on a journey and then when it's over, I like go to bed and then I come back in the morning and it's like I feel changed.
So it's like, so Return of the King extended cut is like 4 hours though, isn't it?
Yep.
Man, man.
That's straight up like 14 hours of movie. 14 hours of movie.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. That's crazy, but it sounds super fun. Like I haven't done that yet, admittedly, but
It takes a certain kind of a certain kind of willingness to be lazy all day.
oh yeah, for sure. Um, in the words of Kevin Smith, those Hobbit movies were boring as hell.
Yeah, I love Peter Jackson and I love the movies he's made, but the Hobbit movies were WB, cracking the whip on him and him not having enough time to do what he needed to do, and it just wound up.
Man, yeah. Speaking of WB, do you want to get into this right now? What an eventful
Sure.
year it's been for them, huh? You know, they announced Warner Brothers. I haven't really gone too into depth about this on my channel, and like this is a perfect time I think to talk about it with Francisco with me on the air. But they did announce that their whole slate of films for the calendar year 2021 will be going to theaters, but also will be going straight to HBO Max for a month on the same day of theater release. I mean, I'll let you start with this because
Okay, so this news, this revelation is a whole lot of good and also a whole lot of bad. But at the same time, it's just a matter of where you stand. Because like when we think about like Christopher Nolan's response to this situation, where he called them the biggest fucking idiots possible, that's purely ego driven. As much as I like and respect Christopher Nolan, he put out a movie, Tenet, in the middle of a pandemic, thinking that he was going to be the savior of movie theaters. And I saw through that. Tenet didn't seem interesting enough to risk my fucking life. So I was like, sorry, Christopher, I'm not going to watch your movie until I can watch it free because I think you're kind of being a dick right now. So having said that, though, the problem with releasing all these films on HBO Max the day that, they're supposed to be in theaters is that most people will opt for the cheaper option to watch it at home and watch it on their streaming service. But at the same time, the people who weren't willing to pay for a ticket to the theaters might not be even willing to go see it in theaters in the first place because they're already struggling or they're already strapped for cash or they're already, deciding that they don't want to pay for the $20 popcorn, nachos, concessions at the movie theater. And they can just stay at home and make their own food and watch it how they want. So on the one hand, it's very accessible for people who are either struggling because of the pandemic or people who just wouldn't have watched it in the first place. Like I might have never, like some people might not ever see a couple of these movies if they weren't on streaming, like they don't interest them enough or they don't seem cool enough. So it might actually open up more people to certain movies. But at the same time, that takes cuts to the directors, the actors, the producers, the people working below the line. It really affects the people that are making the movie. And so it's a mixed bag of a whole lot of yes and no. Like I personally am going to go see whatever movies I can once we can safely go see movies, whatever I can in theaters, even if they are going to be streaming, because that's how I like to experience movies.
Yes.
But for the ones that I'm not going to be like super enthused about, like say Wonder Woman 1984, I'm just going to watch that on streaming because why am I going to, I wouldn't pay a movie ticket price for that. Like I haven't watched it yet because I feel like I'm going to watch it tonight and maybe give you some thoughts. But my girlfriend Gabby watched it and she told me that it was like, it would not have been worth a movie ticket. Like you would have been upset if you went to go see this in the theaters.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that this streaming at the same time as theaters can save those kinds of movies because people who aren't, spending money for it might be giving it support another means. Like it's like, yeah, it's not, worth going to the theaters, but to pop it on, watch popcorn in your house, like on HBO Max, yeah, that's worth it.
Totally. Yeah. You know what? I 100% agree. I think this move for the short term, because like we don't know how long it's going to take to vaccinate everybody. That's just, that's just the way it is. But this move as an artist, it's really worrisome. And, as an actor myself, it's really worrisome to see, like big actors in big movies taking almost like really, really huge pay cuts. And big directors also, like Denis Villeneuve is one of them that was really upset about Dune getting the same treatment in October. I'm going to watch Dune in theaters because I feel like enough people are going to be vaccinated by that point where I'm going to be like, okay, Dune is in theaters for sure. But at the same time,
I think I'm gonna do the same thing too, because like Sci-Fi 1 doesn't really do well at the box office in the first place. So Dune was already it had the card stacked against it. But I love Denis Villeneuve's sci-fi. Like Blade Runner 2049 is one of the most impactful movies of me for the past like 5 years. And I'm gonna make sure I see it in theaters as long as it's safe. Like if it's like all depends.
Yeah. But then again, you also have the consumer side of me that watched Wonder Woman 1984 opening weekend on HBO Max. And I 100% agree with all those points that you were making and why people would benefit this move, or the benefits of the move, rather. You also forgot to mention the ability to pause the movie for a bathroom break. Because Wonder Woman 1984 is a long-ass movie. Longer than it needed to be. 2.5 hours. Like I say this in my, individual review of this, you could shave off at least 20 minutes of Wonder Woman 1984, and it would have been astronomically better. You could shave off the whole Steve Trevor storyline. Would have made the storyline a heck of a lot better than it was.
Someone told me that you could shave off the Steve storyline and Cheetah storyline, and the movie would be better, like genuinely better. It'd be less confusing.
See, like, I don't hate the casting choice of Kristen Wiig as the Cheetah. I thought she was actually going to be the main villain because I say this in my review again. Cheetah is like Wonder Woman's Joker. Mm-hmm. If you read the comics, she is the most famous rogue in Wonder Woman's gallery.
I think it's just because they just wanted to introduce her as quickly as possible.
For probably the sequel, they're probably going to bring her back, and probably not bringing Pedro Pascal back, who's one of the best actors working today, in my opinion. But that was Wonder Woman versus Max Lord, 1984. That was the main conflict. And Cheetah, she was, she was there. She was given the Jamie Foxx Electro treatment, that's for sure, but without spoiling anything too hard. But
I wish this is my problem with like Hollywood writers, and as someone who aspires to be a Hollywood writer, they equate having all the iconic villains just present and there the same as writing them well and making them intertwine with the story. And sometimes like you just have to admit to yourself that sometimes stories don't work with these added characters, but they can't do it because some suit is saying we need to get them in now so we can have them for this later. And that's what happened with most of DC's universe, and that's why it's floundering, and it's constantly floundering because these people don't know how to say no to certain things.
Yeah, that's what post-credit sequences are for. Like if they just saved Cheetah for the Wonder Woman 1984 post-credit sequence, like
that would have been hype. They would have hyped people up. Like, oh, Cheetah's coming in the next movie. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Would have given people an excuse to go see Wonder Woman 3 whenever that's coming out. But here's a really interesting comment about this. I see Wonder Woman 1984 on the level of Iron Man 2 and Batman Forever. Oh boy. It's not a bad film. Patty captured the 80s cheesy tone like the Chris Reeve films. I agree with that second part of the comment. But
I agree with all of it, I think, because Iron Man's movies suck, except for the first one. I will say that to my dying breath. Iron Man sequels suck ass. When you compare them to every other sequel, except for Thor: The Dark World, they are terrible.
Yeah.
Iron Man 1 is like one of the most perfect movies ever. So it's already kind of hard to top that. So Iron Man 2 already was going to, be worse. But it wasn't, bad per se, but like it's a fun comic booky kind of movie. And I feel like just from the trailers of Wonder Woman, it seemed like that. And that's kind of how I want to see it. I'm probably just going to have like some Cheetos and I'm just going to, watch it like and have fun, because I never expected it to be like, uber serious, like Snyder's versions of Superman or something.
Mm-hmm. Zack Snyder's Justice League is coming out in March. I'm pretty hyped for that too.
I am excited, but also wary, because there's a lot of problems with Justice League in general that I don't think Snyder's gonna fix.
Yeah, or Justice League.
Yeah, Justice League. See, the things that Josh Whedon did some things that I really do love about Justice League, like that race with the Flash at the end. It was dumb and it was cheesy, but that felt like DC animation to me. It felt like the heart and
Yeah.
core of Superman and the Flash. But because he tacked it onto Snyder's already grimdark universe, it doesn't fit and it doesn't work and it doesn't meld well. And then that's not without saying the fucking mustache fiasco in that scene. So
because Henry Cavill was making an astronomically better movie at the time, also Mission Impossible Fallout, and so
he cocks his fucking fists to fight.
Oh god,
that's one of the most iconic things ever, and I think that's so it's so dumb, but it's so badass.
That Fallout was one of my favorite action movies of the last decade. I would honestly put that right behind Fury Road. Nice. It's like, damn, it's close. Like, you know, there's some days where I'll where's
Die Hard on this list? Because I watched Die Hard for the first time this Christmas. Well, I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of Die Hard, you know, as a kid.
Well,
like first way all the way through.
I meant like, just of the past decade.
Okay.
I wouldn't put Die Hard like above. Well, no, Die Hard's better than Fallout, for sure. Man, it's man, that's tough. But choosing between Fury Road and Die Hard, like
you don't have to worry about it. We're talking about 2020 and 2021. I changed it up intentionally.
Yeah, for sure. It's all good. It's all good. But just a side note, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I'll say that until my dying breath.
Disagree. Disagree.
It's not a Christmas movie. I'm not going to have this discussion.
The plot cannot exist without the fact that it is Christmas, and that is why it is a Christmas movie. If you remove Christmas from the plot, it does not have as much impact.
Sure. I'll have to watch it again. You know, I there's some days where I'll just say
aside
that
from that.
Controversial. Yeah, aside from that. But yeah, man. I mean, Warner Brothers, their slate next year, I mean, they're coming out with Suicide Squad. You know, I mean, they already put out one bad Suicide Squad movie, so I'm assuming with James Gunn at the helm, it'll be a lot better, and it's going to be rated R. They just announced it today. So thank the Lord. You know, that is, I'm so excited.
Me too. And that's a movie where like this situation kind of sucks, because if it were in theaters and it smashed the box office, it could have completely like revitalized a lot of DC fandom. But because it's going to go to HBO Max too, the people who are already kind of hesitant, like, oh, the last Suicide Squad movies kind of sucked. Why am I going to pay for a crappy movie, you know? And so they might just watch it streaming. And, you know, more power to HBO, because it makes their platform more valuable, and it works. Like Wonder Woman 1984 brought them like 500,000 new subscribers, or like a lot more subscribers than they had in the past.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword, though, because there are going to be situations where people are going to opt for the free option. Like when we saw Disney Plus try to put Mulan on Disney Plus, and it was for $30, we saw them fail completely because no one wants to pay $30 for a movie for the most part. And like, it wasn't worth the price ticket. Well, that's fine. I'm not like judging you for paying $30. It's just that a majority of people are like, I don't feel comfortable paying that much when I'm already paying for the subscription on top of that. It might have been better for them to do what they had done with Soul and just, all right, this is when it's going to come out on Disney Plus. You can watch it before then if you pay for it, but this is when it's going to be free, and you can wait or you can see it now. Your choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And there's a lot of films that are coming out next year on that slate that, like Suicide Squad, for example, and Dune, they'll be so much better seeing it on the big screen. Even Godzilla versus Kong, which I don't even think is going to be that good of a movie. Like,
that's the point, though. Godzilla vs. Kong is not meant to be a good movie. It is meant to see Godzilla fighting King Kong. This is the problem of the last Godzilla movie, King of the Monsters. And this is I don't understand why Hollywood doesn't go the Hollywood route and just make it about these giant monsters. Because the worst parts about Godzilla King of the Monsters were Millie Bobby Brown's family drama. It was irrelevant. It was useless. It was dumb. I did not care about any of these characters. But anytime that Godzilla or Mothra or King Ghidorah was on screen, I was completely invested. I felt like a kid watching old school Godzilla movies, which I loved when I was a child, because that's what these movies are for. And when you detract from that, it doesn't work. So Knowing that that movie is going to go into streaming and theaters at the same time, people get to make that choice of where they want to see it. And I'm going to go see it in theaters because I'm gonna support the fuck out of that because I want to see this good CGI monster fights. I just want them to do that. Like even if this turns into like B movie level, like like drivel, like the old Godzilla movies did, as long as they have that good CGI to carry it, I will be happy.
Yes.
At the same time, someone who isn't as excited for me seeing Godzilla fight on the big screen, like my girlfriend, like when we want to watch it, like I was super happy. I was like, yes, Godzilla. And she was just kind of like, yay, Godzilla. See, that's the difference. It's like I would go to see it in theaters. She would want to see it on streaming because like we wouldn't want to miss the movie, but it's just a matter of how much effort you want to put into it.
Yeah, and it's all a personal preference as well. Me personally, I'm planning on seeing Godzilla versus Kong in theaters just because of the whole spectacle of it.
Yeah.
Godzilla King of the Monsters, I do shamefully say that I do own that film on Blu-ray.
Don't be ashamed.
I mean,
the scenes that are good are good.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. I do enjoy parts of that film, and I enjoy parts of Kong Skull Island even. I do think that's the best like monster-verse movie, if they want to call it that. But Godzilla King of the Monsters got a huge standing ovation when I saw it in theaters, and I was like one of the only few people that did not stand up. I was like, do you guys really think this film deserves a standing ovation? You guys are not going to give Avengers Endgame a standing ovation, but you're going to give this one? Like, unbelievable. But like,
hey, that's the thing. Like, the people who love these movies know what they go for, and that's like, it's like watching Pacific Rim. Like, I don't care about the human. I want to see robots fight each other. I want to see giant robots fighting each other. And if the story and plotline are good, like the first one, great, more power to them. But if it's not, and you don't focus on it, and you give us what we want, which is giant robots fighting each other, then heck yes, that is what you should do.
Oh, for sure. Let's catch up on some comments real quick before we continue. And Kevin and Doth are both saying Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Batman Returns is not a Christmas movie either. What the heck is wrong?
Wait, is Batman Returns the one with is that one with Arnold Schwarzenegger's? No. That's Forever. That's Batman Forever. That's Batman Forever.
No, that's Batman and Robin. Batman Forever is the one with Jim Carrey as the Riddler. Returns has Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman and Danny DeVito as the Penguin. So that I don't
can see that as the Christmas movie, but it doesn't center around Christmas, so I don't know.
No. He also says I enjoyed Birds of Prey, but I felt its R rating was unnecessary. That was a movie I really enjoyed in the theater.
Me too.
I would honestly say that's one of my honorable mentions of last year. If I were to, put it somewhere on my list, it doesn't quite make it, but honorable mention.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree. It was like enjoyable, but it wasn't, it wasn't as spectacular as any of the Marvel movies. The one thing that I do give props for, and I need to touch upon this because it was very impressive, was a lot of the times, like most of the fighting and choreography was well done. And it was like done pretty well. Like they showed it off as much as they could. Like seeing Harley Quinn fight people in that garage to get to, can't even remember, but seeing her fight physically was super cool and it was super enjoyable. And that's where its strength was, and that's where they excelled. But I also think I agree. R rating wasn't super important. They just wanted to seem edgier, I guess. They wanted to say fuck more, I guess.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see what she does in this next Suicide Squad movie. I cannot wait to see what James Gunn does with it specifically. I can't wait to see John Cena as the Peacemaker. He's getting his own show. Yeah, what's weird is I'm noticing on Twitter a lot of people are like really, really like torn up over the fact that Peacemaker is getting his own series before Birds of Prey gets a sequel. I honestly don't really care which one comes first, and my personal bias may say John Cena because he's John Cena, but I mean it is what it is, man. Like
yeah, Birds of Prey sequel probably takes a lot more contracts, negotiations, stuff like that than making the TV show does, and especially because HBO Max is like starving for new shows for people to hop on the bandwagon for. They're probably making the smarter, easier decision, I think.
Yeah, if Robert Pattinson's Batman stayed in the October release slate for this year, that would be my most hyped film of the year, no question. But it's coming
Facts.
out March of 2022,
Hmm.
which is fine. I'm willing to wait for it. It's already my most anticipated film of that year.
Hmm.
That's not what we're talking about. A lot of people are calling for that to be an R-rated film as well. Do you think it should get it?
I think it should be the rating that the story demands because you can have a pretty, accurate Batman movie with a PG-13 rating,
Hmm.
but you can also have a very dark and you can have a grittier, darker Batman with an R rating because like it's not impossible to make it PG-13. But if your story
Right.
calls for it to be rated R, then make it rated R. Own that, make it mature, make the themes dark, and considering the Riddler seems to be like a Zodiac killer type murderer, I am hoping that they lean more towards R than they do PG-13 because I find that more fascinating to see Riddler revamped like this than to see him be. I would rather him, go 100% like murderous psychopath like that and make it an R rating than having to Jim Carrey him and bring him to like PG-13 levels.
I am so I'm so excited to see what they do with the Riddler in that one. I mean, like Colin Farrell penguin prosthetics notwithstanding, that looks really cool and it looks
Mhm.
legit.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm I would argue that I'm more excited to see what they do with the Riddler.
me too.
Just because we haven't seen the Riddler in a legitimately good Batman film like this. Um,
Yes.
but
And
yeah, we'll
also,
see.
like it's playing into a different strength of Batman that I don't think gets explored too much. Like you get hints of it in the Nolan verse, but you don't really
Mhm.
get to see him deduce and like figure out what's happening in most of those movies. He just, he's Batman. He solves it by being Batman and like hitting criminals, and that's just how the act movies go. But this one can be a cerebral, emotional action movie, and that's what I'm kind of like
Yes.
hoping for.
Oh, 100%, man. I agree. Um, I feel Disney was just desperate because that damn movie cost them 300 million to make. I'm assuming he's talking about Mulan. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I was one of those few people that split the cost with my girlfriend on that one, just because $30 was too damn much for Mulan. Um, and I feel like Disney had a huge missed opportunity with that one. I honestly feel like if they wanted to go all Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon on that one, they should have just made it all in Chinese, with subtitles. So,
Mhm.
like, we're living in a world where Parasite won Best Picture. I'm sure Disney could have done that and really, really delved into the culture.
Yeah, and see, this is where the problem with Mulan itself comes into play because it didn't know what it wanted to be at its core because Mulan catered very much to Eastern audiences, which is exactly where it could have and should have gone because it's literally based in China, so that makes sense. But the thing is that to do that, they had to cater to the CCCP, the Chinese Communist Party's rules and regulations about storytelling. And so they had
Mm-hmm.
to mix things up and change things up. And it made it a different kind of movie than to what normal Disney fans were expecting, which was, a girl coming into her own and becoming her own person. Whereas this movie was she's the chosen one. And that's not that's not what the people that loved Mulan originally loved about Mulan. They liked the music, they liked this girl becoming more powerful on her own merit rather than being born as a chosen one. And
Mm-hmm.
then because people were people, everyone started talking about Mulan and how China was it's they were filming near the Uyghur camps of the where they're supposedly enslaving people to do their bidding. People were rightly upset and people refused to watch it. Like I didn't watch it because of that reason. And then once China found out that that's why people weren't watching it, they banned it from China, and so they couldn't recoup their costs in the Eastern market like they wanted to. And then the people in the Western market didn't want to see it because it was very much you cater to China. They don't want to do it. And now nobody kind of wants to know this movie. So who did you make this movie for? Like you didn't win either way. And then
Yeah.
it wasn't a good movie at top of that. So it just kind of, it floundered.
It was so unbelievably boring. I couldn't believe it. But
Yeah. But
um,
here's the thing. If they had released it on Disney Plus at the time they did right now, like December 17th for free, the perception of that movie would have been dramatically different. And this is where you get to the benefits of streaming is that mediocre movies become great movies because people don't have to pay for them,
Yeah,
or pay
yeah.
extra. You're technically paying for this service, but you don't have to pay on top.
I got Mulan for $15, and I got to watch Soul for free. So who really got the better deal there? So
Pixar won.
yeah, Pixar certainly won, and Pixar is for sure winning these next couple of years for sure. All people want for these movies are just monsters killing each other. I agree. I don't think Kong Skull Island was a bad film. Me neither, man. John C. Reilly stole the show there. I'm rooting for King Kong. I personally love Peter Jackson's Kong movie, mostly because of the dinosaur fights.
Hey, Doth, you are my kind of person. I used to watch that movie like on repeat. I had the DVDs. You know what? I kind of want to find a Blu-ray of it now and get it and rewatch it.
I do have the Blu-ray of King Kong.
Hey.
I really enjoyed that film, but it was just way too freaking long.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They spend way too much time with those damn people on the boat. So it's like,
establishment.
Rule of Jaws, wait an hour to show the monster. You know how it is. But Fast and Furious 9 got pushed back, and we didn't get to see John Cena's performance as Vin Diesel's brother in that. I think that casting is very random for Vin Diesel's brother. John Cena looks nothing like him.
It's just because they can shave their heads and look good. I think that's the only reason why.
Well, John Cena didn't even shave his head for it.
Oh, then what? Oh. Okay.
Okay. I mean, maybe they see the facial structure, but it's so weird because John Cena always wrestled with like a Marine cut. Like, I would assume he would have been more than game to shave his head.
Exactly.
But, that's another one that got. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that just because the Fast and movies are just dumb and stupid and just popcorn fun. You could only see those films on the big screen though.
Yeah, they really lose their luster once you put them on normal screens.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, this one makes me sad. Word is the Riddler was almost the villain in The Dark Knight Rises with DiCaprio in the role. Duff, you just made me really, really sad there. I really want to see that now, but
I know I like Bane because I like Tom Hardy, but no, that's about it. They changed too much of the character for me to like really, really like Bane in that movie, and they also changed too much of what made Bane scary, and he is physically imposing, but they didn't. They added more elements to his character that I think were detracting from that physical imposing likeness. Because like when he breaks the bat's back, like it's a dramatic scene, but it didn't feel as impactful because he was being brought up as like, a mastermind terrorist. And that's not what Bane's been about. He's been about like physically, like he is going to beat the crap out of Batman. And he will he will force him to his physical limit. And that's what Bane is. And I like that. But adding like these kind of like this Ra's al Ghul wannabe League of Shadows stuff, I think detracted from what could have been a good side character instead of making him the main villain. He could have been a perfect henchman or sideman. And I know that's kind of demeaning to Bane, but in movies, I think that's where he would be perfect as, but not like, the one with Uma Thurman.
Like someone's muscle, like it's Joel Schumacher tried to do that.
But then that's the thing. He dumped him down too much.
Yeah. Yeah, he made him a big ol' muscular luchador, basically.
Yeah. He is that, but he needs to have a brain. Like if you had him working in tandem with it, like let's say like there's some like terrorist mastermind like Talia al Ghul, but he's like the person who enforces the rules. That would have been a lot more interesting to see that dynamic play out instead of just have it be a stab twist at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. I reviewed Dark Knight Rises on the channel earlier last year. I actually slightly disagree with you because I actually kind of like that they gave Bane the terrorist treatment because I think that made him even more scary.
Yeah, I can see that too.
I feel like it just brought a lot more realism, I think, to the character and the world we were living in 2012.
True.
So, oh, ironically, Chris Nolan is a big Fast and Furious fan. Oh man.
I could see that.
I don't know what to say to that. Bane is a much better character in the comics and the animated series. I've been meaning to watch more Batman animation also. But yeah, man.
I agree.
But the Batman will be coming out in 2022,
which breaks my heart. I want it so
yeah.
bad.
I really hope it does not get the HBO Max treatment. I'm assuming everybody's going to be vaccinated by that point and healthy, so I'm definitely going to a theater to see that. Like, there's no other way. But
you know what? You know what would be an interesting, method for having everyone kind of be happy is like the first month the movie's out, it's only in theaters. But then instead of going to waiting that normal like 2 months, 3 months for like Blu-ray and stuff releases, if they just first month all in theaters, next month and onwards it's on the streaming service. You can either wait a month or you can join the hype when it's like a hype.
Yeah, and they're sort of doing that with like premium video on demand films, things like that. Like I could definitely see them doing that with the Marvel films on Disney Plus. Like a month after Black Widow was released, they'll just be like, "Oh, here you go, it's on Disney Plus now." I'm not sure how they're going to go about that, but I definitely think that's going to be a nice.
They'll find the right balance. I had this conversation with Gabby's father a while ago, and it was like, when it comes to theaters, it's like, what is worth paying for the ticket, one, and then also the extra stuff that comes with the theater, like the popcorn, the snacks, etc. And if you go to a movie and you pay for all of that and it's not worth it, it makes you like regret like your purchase, and you're less likely to see something like that in the future. And so it just makes it so movies that were perfectly okay, but for people who aren't super into them, not want to go see them in theaters, and it's just going to make it even worse for them and harder for them to succeed. But if you have them on streaming and people can watch them at their leisure, it changes the perception of how good that movie is.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. But yeah, no, HBO. We're also getting In the Heights on HBO Max this summer. Really, really looking forward to that.
I wish I could have seen it in theaters, but I'll take it where it is. Like Hamilton was a success, even if it was just on Disney Plus. Like,
yeah. Oh, for sure. And Lin is also going to be doing the music for Encanto, which is going to be Disney's next animated feature coming out in theaters in November, I want to say. Definitely looking forward to that. I don't know if it's going to be like one of my favorite, films of the year. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really get like hyped for it.
I mean, it's just kind of like in pre-production anyways. I know there's a synopsis and stuff, but we won't see what it's really about until the trailer drops.
Yeah. Fingers crossed that Black Widow is in theaters, mostly to show up with my partner who's a Black Widow cosplayer. Oh, okay. Yep.
Nice.
Black Widow's another one, man. That's one that I was really hyped to see last year,
too.
But then it got pushed back. It's to the point now where I'm like, can I just watch it now?
That's exactly how I feel about Black Widow.
Yeah, because it's been finished for a while. It was ready to go, and it
was ready to go in May of last year.
Yeah, well, it was going to be released then. It was finished before then.
Mm-hmm.
Like it had to be finished before then, so they could put all the trailers together. Like I honestly think it was done like December of 2019.
For a fact, yeah.
Like,
because they were still trying to capitalize on David Harbour's Stranger Things hype too at the same time.
Yeah, and instead it's going to bring him up to a whole different level, like bring him back to relevancy, playing the Taskmaster there. I wouldn't say that's my most... See, now I'm at a point where Black Widow isn't even my most hyped Marvel release.
It's because it's not. I mean, as I get into this debate so often, it's like I don't hate Black Widow, but I feel like
I don't either.
It's like she's like not as interesting as the other Avengers, and that kind of sucks. Like I'm not interested in a Hawkeye movie either, and that's just kind of how it is. Like I know that they're like powerful people,
well,
but
Hawkeye,
he's getting his own show. I know.
Yes, yeah. Hawkeye is not going to be a movie. It's but
And see,
yeah, no,
that's where I
that's
would.
actually
That's what they should. I felt like they could have done and should have done, because I think that those characters needed more time to get attached to them and more character development through them. And that's what the Disney Plus shows like Falcon and Winter Soldier or WandaVision are going to be really good for and really great at. But
yeah.
this movie, it's just going to, it's been put off for too long. I'm probably going to be excited when we go see it, but I don't think it's going to like hit as hard as it would have if it had come out the time it came out, which sucks.
Right. Yeah, it's a shame because people have been begging for a Black Widow solo film for a long time.
Mhm.
And they had to wait a little bit longer to see it because the world went on lockdown, but I'm still pulling for it. I still think it'll be pretty solid. It looks like the trailers make it look awesome. It almost looks like the MCU's equivalent to like the Jason Bourne movies.
Yeah, which I'm super excited and really happy about. But part of me kind of wishes they put it on Disney Plus, like as like a Christmas release or something, because it cements that like Marvel being supported completely by Disney. But I totally understand because they spent a lot of money on it and they want that box office drawback. And Tom Hanks said it best: the Marvel movies are going to save movie theaters because they are.
Oh, I agree 100%. You got Black Widow, you got Shang-Chi, which I'm really hyped to see. I've gotten a huge. I've gotten a. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. Oh man, that's sweet. PAs or were they?
Yeah.
No, that's sweet. That's sweet. Very cool. Very cool. I actually had a fellow YouTuber who told a story in one of his reviews. Shout out to you, Jared, if you're watching. But a couple of his friends actually got to be PAs on the set of Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, hey, small world. There you go. But Shang-Chi, I'm super, super hyped for that. I've been on a huge martial arts movie series like kick because I just finished Cobra Kai. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that
review already. Man, that third season was something else. But yeah, Shang-Chi looks really good. Eternals, I'm mostly excited to see the Richard Madden Kit Harington reunion back on screen.
I know this is kind of, I want to see Kumail Nanjiani in his costume, and that's what I want to see.
Dude,
he went from like a normal schlubby dude, and he worked his ass off to look like a superhero, and that's impressive. And I am down for that. Dude.
Exactly, man. Like he worked his tail off. I commend him so much. I'm sure he had help from Batista, who he did Stuber with, but man, I love that dude so much. Kumail is so funny. I can't wait to see what he does with a superhero flick. But you got Spider-Man 3 also in December. I have every faith that this will be at least the good Spider-Man 3. I don't want to jinx it. I'm going to knock on wood right now. But
this is what I think is going to happen with Spider-Man 3. It's going to wind up being like the original Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, in which you have a lot of characters that are cool, but somewhere along the line, the story's going to go off the rails and not make too much sense. But because there's going to be having, the Sinister Six and all the other Spider-Man, you're just going to ignore that because you're along for the ride at that point.
A lot of people are really, really stoked about all this casting news that's apparently coming out, and I am too. I am a little bit concerned, though, because they are announcing a lot of people from the Spider-Man, not just in the MCU. They announced that Doctor Strange is going to be returning for Spider-Man 3. But, I mean, they're announcing Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro. They're announcing
Alfred Molina coming back as Doc Ock.
Yeah, they're announcing Gwen Stacy coming back. I mean, they didn't explicitly say Emma Stone. I'm assuming it's going to be Emma Stone. But I heard whisperings of Kirsten Dunst as MJ. I'm hearing whisperings of Andrew Garfield. I haven't heard anything about Tobey Maguire yet, but if it's going to be a Spider-Verse movie and if Doctor Strange is in it, and his next movie is all about the multiverse, I'm assuming that's what it's going to be.
And I think that works out well for everybody involved because I know Sony wanted to have their own separate Spider-Man universe. And I as someone who very much dislikes the fact that Venom exists and the fact that they're making Morbius, I'm kind of glad that they have this cop-out that works for everybody, that we can have Tom Holland in the MCU and exist in that universe completely and without fucking up the MCU too much, and they could still, crank out all the shitty movies they want to.
Yeah, Venom 2 is supposed to be coming out with Woody Harrelson as Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
That film better be rated R, because
It has to be.
that was my problem with the first film. Like, there was really no excuse for it to be like rated PG-13.
It's because they want to get teenage money, but the thing is, like we said about Batman, is like you make the story that that demands, and you make the story, and then the rating will demand that story, or just tell the story first, and then see what the rating it is. And with Venom, they should have made it rated R. They should have capitalized on that. Deadpool succeeded despite being rated R. If they had actually leaned into it, it would have been, I think, a better movie than it was.
Yeah, man, it was. And that's another thing. You're saying that, like, oh, it wouldn't have gotten the teen money, with the without the PG-13 rating. I did work at a movie theater for both of the Deadpool films up to this point, and high schoolers were sneaking into those theaters all the time. So I feel like it was going to get that money anyway, regardless if it was rated R. But
see, executives don't know that people like breaking the rules to see movies they want to see.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't know, man. But, I mean, Venom 2 looks... I mean, I'm pulling for it. I'm not expecting anything, too big out of it. But,
I just want it to not be utter crap. That's all I want it to be. I mean, I don't know. Part of me wants it to fail because I want Sony to just accept the lesson that they should just stop messing with Spider-Man and just send everything back to Marvel because screw them. But on the other hand, I'm like, I like seeing Venom on screen and I like seeing these characters exist and breathe and be things.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're just Sony or like Sony based things, they just don't turn out well. And that's just how Sony does things. The only thing they succeeded in was because there was Into the Spider-Verse. And that is only because the animators and the creators of that were 100%. No, they were 200% fans of Spider-Man and all that he encompassed. Like, their creativity is what saved Sony's like attachment to Spider-Man, not Sony. It was the creators alone, because Venom wasn't good. It wasn't based on too much of what, fans would have liked and wanted. And then Morbius isn't what really fans, I think, are demanding and wanting right now. They just kind of were like, oh, we got this. Let's do it. We can make it dark Spider-Man stuff. And so they're just kind of throwing shit at the wall, it seems like, seeing what sticks. And it's very infuriating.
Yeah. The main problem I had with the first Venom film is pretty much the same problem I had with the first two Amazing Spider-Man films and the only two Mark Webb Spider-Man films. They all felt heavily like products to me, more than stories.
Exactly.
It felt like they were trying to sell me something rather than just trying to tell me a story.
Exactly, and that's the problem with that Sony has, is that it's too much movie by committee. And I think Wonder Woman 1984 kind of followed into this, but at the same time, I trusted Patty Jenkins enough as a creator to kind of like circumvent that enough to make it fun.
Yeah.
But like when you see movies as a product, like we do with the Hobbit films and a bunch of other stuff, it's like you can tell that some person with the money was like, no. We're doing this way because we want money. That's why you had Toriel and Hobbit. That's why Venom was PG-13. That's why a lot of these situations turn up and make the movies worse.
Yeah.
Because they don't have, and if they don't have a Kevin Feige, they don't have someone who understands both worlds perfectly like he does, because he's, been the producer for all the MCU movies. He's one of the people that I like the closest I can get to like not like bowing down to a person, but like just being super impressed by, like he's one of the people that I like goals. Like he's one of the goals that I want to achieve, like that kind of like intellect and status. But Sony doesn't have a guy like Kevin Feige, and DC kind of had it and tries to have it, but they don't have someone like him who has the ability to negotiate with like the executives on what they want. Like remember when when James Gunn got fired off of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it was Kevin Feige who went to bat for him and who convinced the executives that this is how we should do things because this isn't him anymore, one. And then two, he turned D-list characters from comic books. And I know comic book fans are going to like roast me and say they're not D-list characters. Like to everyone that isn't a comic book nerd, they were D-list. No one knew about them until that movie came out. And he brought them into straight up A-list status. That is how good he was as a filmmaker and a storyteller. And to ignore that and to just hit him hard for something in the past, like it was ridiculous to everyone who had a brain. And then Kevin Feige went to bat for him, brought him back, and now he got to do Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And
there you go. Yeah, we're not getting Volume 3 for a while though.
Yeah,
which is understandable because he just finished another big film in the other on the other side of the comic book movie spectrum, if you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. And that talent is not going to go. It's not going to go away. It's not going to disappear. No. He's going to make Suicide Squad probably a good movie for DC, and everyone's going to kind of see that. Yeah, he was an asset to those stories. And if Kevin Feige hadn't didn't know how to negotiate with executives and negotiate storytelling, he would not be back, and we wouldn't have the kind of stories that we do in the MCU. And they don't have. I don't think they have someone that represents that enough in Sony or the DC universe, and that's kind of what sucks, because I would love to have someone be the Kevin Feige of the DC universe and make him as good as Marvel, because I think they deserve that, but because they lack that, they flounder.
Hear me out on this one. It feels to me at this point like the DC EU is starting to become kind of like the sequel Star Wars trilogy in a way. It doesn't really feel like they have a roadmap.
They don't.
To happen. Like it just feels like they're putting like, oh, this character we're gonna put Wonder Woman over here. We're gonna have a movie with Aquaman with Amber Heard for some reason now, even though I hate her guts. We're gonna have who else? Black Adam starring The Rock, which I will see because The Rock is my boy. But it just feels very random. You got Black Adam over here, you got Shazam too.
It's because like they what they wanted to do is they wanted to jump straight to Avenger status. Like they wanted to get everyone together and sell it based on just the characters alone. But the problem with that is that the MCU did it differently, and they gave individual characters individual movies so that they can grow and connect to the audience at large, so people could become to understand how this actor portrays this character that they love and adore, and then to see them grow over the course of a couple movies. And then they brought them all together. And it was a long, arduous process, but it benefited them completely in the long run. Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. are iconic because they took the time. Like it was just the slow, methodical effort of putting in the work to establish and create these characters that carried them. And then DC was like, we need to have Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman all on the same screen at the same time. And it did not work because that's what they focused on, and not, we need to establish Batman, we need to establish Superman, we need to establish Wonder Woman. They were just like, nope, we're going to get them on the movie and that's going to sell it enough. But it did not work. And they won't accept that it does not work, which is why we have Cheetah in 1984. And it seems like from everyone saying that she was nearly irrelevant. And that's kind of the problem. There's no one there to say, we need to take the time to make these characters better. And there is some stories where they could work, where like you can have all of them completely, unknown and uncharacterized, and have them work. Like if you had started off with like a Flashpoint movie, that's a situation where the characters are so different to who we know them as, like in general comic books and like animation, where it could have been serviceable. Like that's a situation where you could have had them all together per se, but because they're so vastly different from what we recognize them, it would feel less like a product. It would feel more like a story. And they just lack someone to tell them like, hey, we need to give the characters what they deserve.
You know what they did, though, right? They did exactly what Feige did, but they did it in reverse. Like, they gave us the Avengers, the big Avengers event type film first to compete with Civil War, which was coming out the same year, like 2 months later. Mm-hmm. But Civil War was so much better because it was given time to build to that point. And it really felt like everything just like, all this tension with Cap and Stark, just boiling up to the surface. Like, And then BBS was just like, okay, we're just gonna throw everything at the wall and create this big sci-fi extravaganza. Like
Yep.
that's
Because it's because
infuriating.
it is so infuriating because I cherish Batman and Superman more in my heart than any other Marvel character except for Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man's the only one that I think can compete with those two characters in my heart. Like I love Iron Man and I love Thor and I love them all, but they were never as impactful to my childhood as Superman and Batman were. And to see them get constantly ruined by people who don't know what they're doing infuriates me. And it's the reason why they don't get as much money, and they don't want to accept that. They don't want to change their plans. They don't want to reassess how they're doing things because they don't want to admit that they're failing, and it's infuriating.
They're fickle.
They're fickle.
But
luckily, I hope after James Gunn gets his Suicide Squad out, like the executives will realize that, maybe we got to take a step back. And just the actors are good. I think the casting for the DC universe is almost perfect.
Right.
Minus a few people that I don't think fit here and there. I think that everyone who plays the characters they're playing are great for those roles. But the stuff that they're given to act, it's just not good. And it's never been good. Like Henry Cavill in Man of Steel and everything else that he's been in as Superman, he's good. He's a good Superman. But because the Superman that he's playing isn't written well, sorry, Zack Snyder, it just doesn't it doesn't feel like Superman.
No, it doesn't. Like, he tried to go edgier and darker, but I mean, I am curious to see what he does with his version of Justice League, just because it kind of gives closure to the whole situation with Justice League. But to your point about the casting, spot on. And Doth is saying The Rock is an actual Black Adam fan and worked hard to get the script and tone right, which is
and I
awesome.
hope that pays off. I really hope that pays off. He's got enough star power to demand things, and I hope that he does it serviceable. He does it in a service to the character and not to himself, which also kind of happens with some of these like actor-driven movies. But I have high hopes.
I don't think The Rock has as big of an ego as people think he does.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, he's a pretty nice, humble dude, so I think he's going to service the character more than character servicing him.
He is a guy that loves his job, and he is a guy that clearly has fun with everything he does. And he's a great guy. He's a role model. He's like, I don't want to call people like my idol, but like if there was someone that fits that moniker, it would be him. Mm-hmm. Everybody that knows me personally would probably know that. But anything
he's not a bad dude to admire. He's not, and that's yeah. We'll see how he turns out.
Yeah, I don't know if Black Adam is coming out this year or next year. I think it's probably pushed. I do have a list in front of me of all the films that are coming out next year. But of the ones we talked about, what is your most anticipated Marvel film next year?
Okay, so I have a list of most anticipated films that I'm looking forward to next year. I'm obviously like excited for Black Widow because we should have had it already, and because it got postponed, they had to postpone Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and they had to postpone a bunch of other like Disney Plus shows that I was really looking forward to too, and it kind of like sucks, because they're all hinging on story elements in this one movie, and this is the problem with connected universes that like you miss one movie, you miss a little bit of other stuff, and I'm excited for Black Widow, but I think I'm more excited for Eternals than I am Black Widow because it's a more interesting part of the Marvel universe than I think Black Widow's history is, because we know where Black Widow goes. She dies and she disappears. So we know her character arc, it's already completed. So seeing this backstory isn't necessarily bad, but it's like I already know what's going to happen. So it's less interesting, for lack of a better term. It's not like I'm uninterested. It just makes it a little bit like, oh, okay, we'll just kind of see this, and then we know she dies, and we'll just kind of, we'll see her little journey along.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, the Eternals is something that I'm really like, I don't really know anything about them, so heck, they might come in and surprise me. They might come in and surprise me like crazy, like Guardians of the Galaxy did 6 years ago, or or 7 years ago now to this point. Man, 7 years. Oh, my goodness, I don't want to feel old right now. But Eternals, Shang-Chi, I think I'm more excited. I'm more excited for Black Widow than Shang-Chi. I really like the.
I think I'm in the same way. It's like Eternals, Black Widow, Shang-Chi.
Yeah. I think I'm excited for Spider-Man 3 more so than all of them, just because I'm really fascinated to see what they do with that.
I need to see a trailer first. I can't get myself too hyped. It's already too late.
Really hoping it's good. But also, well, just keeping in the Marvel universe, what is your most anticipated TV show on Disney Plus that's coming out?
You know, before I saw the trailers for WandaVision, it was going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier because I wanted to see how they dealt with trying to live up to the mantle of Captain America. Like that is one of my favorite like aspects about Steve leaving the MCU and the way that he did is that he wanted to pass the mantle to someone. And knowing that the Winter Soldier takes the mantle in some comic books and he kind of some people like say he deserves to be Captain America. In the MCU, he doesn't. Like I genuinely think that he does not deserve to be Captain America because of what he's done and what he's been forced to do. And I know it's not his fault, but he doesn't embody it enough because he's been brainwashed, unfortunately.
You're talking about Bucky, yeah?
Yeah, Bucky.
Yeah.
And because he's been, forced to be this evil person, it's like he can't live up to what Captain America is. And the Falcon can't live up to it because he doesn't feel like he's, big enough as Captain America was. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic to play with because it's going to be like, does the Winter Soldier deserve it because he's, actually as powerful as Captain America, or does the Falcon deserve it because he represents, I guess, his idea is better? And seeing that, like, one internal debate in each of these characters and then seeing the debate played out through their actions is going to be super cool and super interesting. And I really want to see that. But after seeing the trailers for WandaVision and seeing how they're going through all the eras of sitcoms and like marriage sitcoms, like that to me it's such a love letter to old television. It's like if you made a comic book, like exemplifying all the old styles of comic books from the first to all the eras that are currently happening. And so it's a love letter to old TV and old television and the growth of that kind of storytelling, while at the same time being it seems like it's gonna be very character driven and very fun. Like it just looks like it's gonna be a fantastic show, and I'm so excited for it. I
100% agree. I think honestly though, like I saw the trailer for WandaVision and I saw the trailer for Falcon and Winter Soldier same day, Disney Investor Day. Same with Loki, which I can talk about in a second. But I really am not all that hyped for WandaVision, if I'm being honest.
Interesting.
Because they were like, to me, they were always like the least interesting part of the Avengers films.
I'm not going to admit that.
Nothing against them, nothing against the characters, nothing against the actors, but like I saw Avengers Infinity War 3 times in theaters. And every time the Scarlet Witch and Vision scene came up, like in the hotel or whatever it was, that was my bathroom break. I always ran to the bathroom. Like, the first time I saw it, I didn't take one. It was a long movie, so I was like, oh, this sucks. But then, like, I saw that part again, and I'm like, I'm going to make a run for it. And I didn't really miss anything that I wanted to the second time around. So
see, and that's very true. And that's kind of the whole reason why I'm excited for this show, because we'll get to explore them a bit more. Like, I think they deserved more time, especially because Wanda, like, as we know from the comic book, she's Scarlet Witch. She's one of the most powerful mutants ever in history, ever in existence. And to kind of see her get sidelined I know it's not part of her, like, the story, because we're focusing on, Tony Stark and Steve Rogers and Thanos pretty much for the majority of these last two movies. I very much am excited to see how they grow and change, and it seems like I'm going to get a lot of that. But now that you mentioned Loki, I think that Loki is going to be one of the funnest shows that's ever existed, because it already looks chaotic. It already looks like manic.
It looks like Oh man,
It
I don't
looks like
know.
everybody had fun. That's what it looks like. It looks like everybody had fun.
WandaVision is my least anticipated show that they're putting on Disney Plus next year. Probably followed after that by Miss Marvel. But Loki looks awesome. Like I was kind of hesitant about it, like
Me too.
because he got a perfect send off in Infinity War, but after I saw that trailer and after I saw him in an elevator with Owen Wilson of all people, like I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm there day one. I'm gonna be there day one for all of these, but Loki, they sold me on that. Falcon and Winter Soldier, though, let's talk about that for a second because I do have some comments. Duff met both Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan at a Comic-Con, but not Chris Evans, unfortunately, which sucks. Sucks for, man, that's a horrible situation. But, Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, that is a great tag team. I'm excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier because it looks like it's going to be like part political thriller, part buddy cop comedy. Yeah. Almost like a lethal weapon in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And the lethal weapon's going to be Cap Shield. I hope. Now that I think about it, like how lethal is Cap Shield? I don't want to think about it.
I don't want to think about it because Thanos broke it pretty easily. What's up, Gabby? How you doing? I wanted Cap to give Bucky the shield, but I'm totally cool with Falcon being the new Cap and them being a tag team together. Me too. I'm cool with it. Sam, I think that's gonna bring like a lot of much needed diversity into the MCU. With Cap now being, Sam. But I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to see what they do with it. They also said Bucky didn't get the shield because he's a damaged character. Well, terrorist.
Yeah.
But, bionic arm and a terrorist. But, Rocky Raccoon wanted his bionic arm. So, physically and mentally damaged character.
Which I think is very interesting to see him try to live up to to his friends ideals, because like the thing about Cap was that he always believed in Bucky 100%. Like this wasn't you, this is not who you are, and I know that because I know you from before you were this, and I love that. And he's going to be trying to live up to his friends' expectations, and I'm super excited to see that. And then the Falcon's going to try to live up to, I guess, the moniker of Captain America and see how he feels about it. And I genuinely want to see that, but I think because WandaVision is going to be like I said, that love letter to to the eras of television, and also be a crazy, random, wild ride, that I'm a little bit more excited because I kind of expect what's going to happen at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier is one of them is going to take up the mantle, and we're going to have a new Captain America, and he's going to lead the new Avengers, which isn't bad, but that's kind of what I'm expecting. Whereas WandaVision, I have no idea what the fuck happens at the end of that. I genuinely can't see where they're going to go. Same with Loki. Loki is kind of the same thing. I think I'm WandaVision, Loki, and maybe you can interchange them a little bit, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because I know what to expect a little bit too much with them.
Same thing kind of with Hawkeye also. You kind of know what to expect there, especially with the casting of Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop.
It's you can see it's the passing of the torch shows, and so you kind of you're going to see them pass the torch, which is fine and great. But that's kind of we know what it's going to happen.
That's kind of going to be what Black Widow is too, though, isn't it? Because you also have Florence Pugh as Yelena. So I mean, I have a feeling Florence is going to be the new Black Widow. Sam is going to be the new Cap, and then you have Haley being Haley/Kate being the new Hawkeye. They're planting the seeds for new Avengers, man. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to see how that all plays out. Supposed to see Chris Evans and Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston at Con the week. Oh,
wow, that is such terrible timing. I'm sorry, Duff.
Yeah, me too, man. That is just the worst. I fully understand the choice to go with Falcon. I'm just biased because I've always loved the friendship dynamic between Steve and Bucky. Yeah, it's. I realize that Bucky is a popular choice to be the new Cap and all because that's what happened in the comics or whatever. But I don't know. again, after like what happens to him in the films, like it really does make a lot of sense that Sam would take up the mantle for me. Um, plus
I think
Bucky.
I think it's mostly because like the difference in the stories they told in the MCU versus the comic books. Like in the comic books, like Bucky gets a little bit more, I guess, character redemption through his actions than he did in the movies. Because in the movies, you only get to see him in Winter Soldier. You get to see him be brainwashed and try to take out the United States. And then in the next few movies, like it's pretty much just him healing up, and he hasn't really redeemed himself completely yet. And that's what I think we're gonna see. That's what I'm hoping to see. Like he can, like maybe he can deserve it at the end of the show. But we'll just have to see.
But yeah, man. So man, that is a loaded Marvel slate for 2021, though. Their most loaded slate, I think, in their entire history. We're getting the most content out of them, like in a single year this year than it's ever been. So,
and I think that's worth it because of how much we lacked any of it this year. We lacked completely any movie, lacked any shows. We were all expecting these shows to come out, bits and pieces throughout these next couple years. But we're just going to get oversaturated in next year, and I'm so ready for it.
So ready for next Friday at the time of streaming this. Obviously, the second. WandaVision January 15th premieres. I'm ready. I'm ready to be injected with more Marvel. But just looking down this list of like everything else that's coming out in 2021, I did No Time to Die is another one that caught my eye. The next Bond film that was postponed. I mean, you get Rami Malek as the villain.
He can't go wrong with Rami Malek.
I'm very, very curious to see what's going down over there. Mortal Kombat going to HBO Max. I mean,
I think that's going to play out well for them. Genuinely, when I think of Mortal Kombat, I think college kids getting stoned watching that movie and watching people chop their heads off and shit. So like I think that's a smart move. I genuinely think it's a smart move because otherwise it would have failed as a B movie in theaters.
It does come out right at the peak of spring break too, so like perfect time to do that.
Exactly.
A big year for scary films. Also, we're getting A Quiet Place 2 in 2021. I'm so ready to see John Krasinski direct another horror flick. Mm-hmm. Black Widow, of course. I'm just scrolling through the Wikipedia list right now. Mm-hmm. Godzilla versus Kong. We talked about that. Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds.
I wanted to talk about all the movies that were supposed to come out this year, but got kind of postponed, and see how differently they're gonna succeed or fail based on that. Because like Black Widow, I think is gonna get probably the biggest box office draw of the next year, simply because everyone loves Marvel and it's their comfort food. Like they know they won't be upset if they go to see it in theaters. But like Free Guy,
you think it's gonna make more money than Spider-Man?
I don't think it's going to make as much money as movies in the past have been because people are still going to probably be anxious to go out to theaters when it comes out.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think it's going to be the biggest box office draw of the year in general. Like it's not going to be like Spider-Man or Avengers level type hype because it's impossible to capture that hype again. But I think it's probably going to do better than all the other movies that we're going to list because of the sheer repertoire that the MCU has.
Yeah, for sure. But we were going to talk about Free Guy for a second.
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds in a video game universe, almost like a GTA.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the movies where because it got postponed, it kind of dropped off the radar. Like I forgot that movie existed for a long time, and I was excited to see it when it was like played out in trailers. Like I was like, this is going to be like one of those dumb comedy movies that I go with friends to hang out for a bit and just laugh my ass off. Like it was going to be like a fun kind of movie. But like now that I'm like now that we've gone through the pandemic, it's kind of dropped off a lot of people's radar. And so I think that when it comes back into theaters, it's not going to do as well when time comes.
I'm really pulling for it, man. I thought for a second, like just looking at the trailer and the poster, that Taika Waititi directed it. Apparently he's acting in it instead. And it's directed by Sean Levy, who did the Night at the Museum trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seems like a strange combination and all, but like, I'm super fascinated by it for sure.
Yeah.
Fast
it looks
9.
Like it's gonna be a fun time. Fast 9 is something that I'm like about. I haven't watched any of the Fast and Furious movies since Tokyo Drift, so I'm okay with that.
Fast 5 is the best one, easily. The one where The Rock makes his debut as Hobbs. Easily the best one. Um, I mean, those are going to make a lot of money regardless.
Yeah,
Cruella with Emma Stone for Disney. Great
that
casting.
is going to
Don't
be
think it's
interesting.
gonna. Don't think it's gonna be a great movie by any stretch.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think it'll be
expecting a
interesting.
lot.
I don't think it'll be a good movie, but I think it'll be interesting to
Yeah,
watch.
what we said about Maleficent 7 years ago, and look what happened.
I mean, Maleficent has problems, but you're going there for Angelina Jolie as Maleficent, and you're going to go for Emma Stone as Cruella. Like that's the draw. That's the whole point.
The Maleficent movies suck, man. I'm so sorry. Like they are horrendous. Like I couldn't believe it. Like they went the Wicked route with it, and I really did not want them to go the Wicked route with Maleficent, but they did what they did.
So,
The Conjuring 3. The Conjuring 3 is getting HBO Max treatment as well.
which
I
I
don't
think
know.
is fine because sequential movies of horrors, they have draw at the box office, but personally, like I don't want to go see these movies in theaters because people get scared too easily, in my opinion. Um, and I'm not gonna try to pretend like I'm a tough guy and like I don't get scared at all, even though it just takes a lot. It takes a different kind of horror for me to get spooked. Like thrillers, I think are the best kind of horrors because it builds up and it gives you things to worry about. Whereas a lot of horror movies are just like boo, jump scares,
Yeah.
this, and it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's you surprised me, and now I'm not scared because it was a fake out. So, um, I don't know. I think it'd be fine. I think more people will watch it than not watch it. But the one thing that I'm kind
Yeah.
of interested in is Candyman. I'm really excited to see Candyman because
That's
it's
another
written by
one
Jordan
that
Peele, and it's like a sequel, but it's like a spiritual sequel because they acknowledge that the first movie happened, like it's canon in its universe. I'm just excited to
yeah.
see how they modernize Candyman and just to see what a black lead horror movie could be. Like I just another black lead horror movie could be, you know?
So excited for that. We're also getting just to keep going on the scary train. We're getting a new film from M. Night Shyamalan called Old.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
New film from him, and apparently he wrapped filming during quarantine and all. So, I mean, Glass Glass was kind of a mess, but I really love Split. So,
Mhm. See, that's
well,
the thing with M. Night Shyamalan. It's like his movies are either like one of my favorite movies of all time is Signs. Like I love Signs. Like I really love Signs.
so good.
But that's the thing. Like if he has relied too much on his trope of having twists in his movies, so people expect twists in his movies, and because people expect them, they're not as twisty, and therefore it kind of bogs down the story a bit. And then
Yep.
when he doesn't do twists in his movies, people are kind of surprised and go like, "Where's the twist? I was expecting a twist." And then it's like he can't live up to his own previous expectations, and that kind of sucks for him.
Yeah, it's people frustrate me sometimes, but
Mm.
yeah. So we're getting that. Oh, I'm just looking in the month of July right now. Top Gun Maverick, another one that was delayed
Yep.
multiple times. My mom is so disappointed every single time it happens because she loves the first Top Gun.
Mm.
I like it. It's fun. It's fun, cheesy 80s action. So, I mean, I'll be in the theater seeing that for sure. Uncharted with Tom Holland as the young Nathan Drake. Did you play
That
the Uncharted game?
I did not, but I've seen enough to understand what it's about. And see, this is where I'm wary. This is where I get worried about video game movies because Free Guy has like same kind of like twinge to it, where it's going to be people who aren't of this video game universe, this scope, this understanding of what's cool and what's not in video games,
Yeah.
trying to make movies about video games and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot of cringy shit that I'm going to see in Free Guy that I'm just going to go, ugh. And I know for a fact I'm also going to see cringy shit in Uncharted. And I just
That
need to
might
know.
that might be the whole point with Free Guy though, because it's probably meant to be a parody.
Yeah, so like if they do it well, the cringe will dissipate or be shifted into something else. But Uncharted is 100% based on story, and so I think they might fare a little bit better. But I haven't seen many video game movies that have succeeded. So that's
But yeah, apparently they're making a Netflix series about that game series. So I mean,
We'll
that's
see.
probably yeah. Oh, you want to feel old? Space Jam 2 with LeBron James.
I okay, hold on. I both love and hate that this movie is going to exist. I hate it because Space Jam isn't a good movie. It's cringy kid stuff, and that's fine. It's
Dude,
it's childhood nostalgia. That's what it is. That's why people like it. It's not because it's a good movie, which is fine. I'm not gonna bash that. But I have to support it because I love rotoscoping and animation in live action. Like I love that. It's such a unique way of telling a story and such a fun way of telling a story that I just want more of it, you know? Like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, classic. Space Jam's fun. I even love Looney Tunes back in action.
Poppins did it.
Yeah, Mary Poppins. Like all this like rotoscoping animation and live action is one of the funnest like ways to play with mediums. It's one of the most interesting ways. And I'm always down to see Bugs Bunny talking to real people. I'm always down for Daffy Duck talking to real people. And so I'm excited for it for that alone. I know it's not going to be great. I know it's going to be a fun time, and that's okay. Like not every movie has to be as hyped as the Avengers, but I am going to see Bugs Bunny talking to LeBron James, and that's going to be fucking awesome.
There you go. There you go. That's all you can really ask for. I mean, as long as this director hasn't done a whole bunch of Dutch angles like they did in the first film, I think it should be just fine, making wise. Jungle Cruise is another one that was delayed. That's going to make a ton of money for Disney. Like you have The Rock and you have Emily Blunt on the poster, first of all, and it's based like Jungle Cruise. Like it's one of everybody's favorite Disney rides.
It's not my favorite Disney ride, but it is one of them.
Oh man, it's so fun. Like every skipper you get, you just get it's a great time.
Puns. I was in a group that everyone hated her and hated the skipper's puns, but I absolutely loved every single one. I was the only one cackling.
I love it too, man. Just the dad jokes and like there was one trailer of the Jungle Cruise where The Rock actually did make the backside of water joke, and it really made me so happy hearing that. But that might be actually in my top 10 most anticipated if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, it looks like it'll be a fun time. I don't know how I feel about because I have no idea what the story would be. Like, I don't know. Jungle Cruise. It's like they just go down a cruise in a jungle. I'm sure it's going to be kind of like Indiana Jones-esque, and there's going to be shenanigans happening, and like I don't know. I just don't know what to expect. And that's not a bad thing.
It's going to be very silly for sure. Candyman, by the way, releases on August 27th. That is directed by Nia DaCosta, who's also doing Captain Marvel 2, by the way, which is awesome. Jordan Peele is helping her write the screenplay. Man, yeah, that looks awesome. I can't wait for that one.
I mean, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So we got Death on the Nile. That's another one that was pushed back. Kenneth Branagh sporting the fakest porn stash of all time. Well, he's playing Poirot again. So
the thing is, like, it just I feel like Kenneth Branagh has exceeded his expiration date, if I'm going to be honest. There's like a lot of movies where he's great in the past, but his most recent stuff hasn't been.
I loved him in Tenet, man. He was so good.
He's in Tenet. I didn't even know that.
Tenet, yeah. It's John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, Kenneth Branagh. I know I'm forgetting someone in there. Michael Caine is in there for like a scene because it's a Nolan flick, and you have to have
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine in every single Nolan flick. Like if years down the line, if I'm going to a Nolan flick and I see Michael Caine in none of those scenes, I might leave very disappointed. So
or here's the one that's going to hurt more. You say it in memory of Michael Caine at the end of the credits.
Please don't jinx it. Please don't jinx it. We already had the year that shall not be named. So
true.
Let's catch up on some comments real quick before we get to these last.
Okay, yeah. I'll talk about the rest of my list.
Yeah, Duff cannot forgive M. Night for the last Airbender film.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
I can't forgive him for Lady in the Water. So there you go. I wish they didn't do a. I wish they did a prequel Uncharted movie. Everyone always wanted Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake.
I think people love that idea, but it's because he's not young and can't carry the franchise in the future. And then that's the unfortunate reality of starting a franchise like Uncharted. Is he can't carry it into the future, which sucks.
Tom Holland is a busy bee. He's like the actor face of our generation right now because we're
him and Timothy Chalamet, I think, are like 101, like the artsy Timothy Chalamet, and then like the
oh my
super
god
corporate.
Speaking of, sorry to cut you off again. I saw a meme on Twitter. I don't know if it was a meme or if it was a Boss Logic poster or whatever, but this was a fan casting with Matthew McConaughey as Norman Osborn in the MCU with Timothy Chalamet as his son. Timothy Chalamet as Harry would be freaking awesome.
I didn't realize how much I fucking want that. Holy shit.
Right? I saw that and I was like, yes, just give me that. Timothy Chalamet and Tom Holland together would be gold.
Because he can perfectly play pretty rich boy. Like,
yeah.
My god, that is such a good fan casting. I don't normally agree with a lot, but that one is legitimately good.
That rules him out for the Human Torch. Just saying.
Good.
Rules him out for the Human.
That's a waste. Yeah. That's a waste of Human Torch. That's a waste of Timothy Chalamet and the Human Torch.
Put Ansel Elgort as Human Torch and put Chalamet. Yeah, just have Ansel Elgort jack up for a little bit. Dolph also says Space Jam is a masterpiece. I agree with you.
You were free to think that. You were free to think that.
Hey, what's up, Jaron?
Hello,
glad
Jaron.
You're here. Glad you're here. Lots of movies to talk about this year. Let's see how many stick to their release dates. You know what? We were talking at the beginning about how, there was a certain percentage of Americans that have gotten vaccinated at this point. I think I'm thinking we're seeing minimal postponement this year. I don't want to jinx it, but knock on wood. But I don't know, man. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think everything that's like past like maybe April is probably safe, but like all the March release dates that they have are either going to get pushed or they're going to be pushed to streaming services, which I also think is in the pandemic is a totally valid and fine way to get these movies out.
I lied about Encanto being Disney's next animated film, by the way. They're also releasing Raya and the Last Dragon on Disney Plus premiere access, as well as in theaters on March 12th. That looks great. Kelly Marie Tran really did not get as good of a chance as she did with the material she got in the Star Wars sequels. Her character was just awful, but
it was dropped. It was poorly developed, dropped, and ignored, and I feel bad. Okay, the fans that were like clamoring because she sucked, I wanted to punch every single one of them because it was based in like some were genuinely racist people, and then two, it's not her fault. She didn't write this thing. She acted in this thing.
Yeah, she did. She was playing a character, He also says Kenneth Branagh in Tenet is the man. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. He should be in the MCU down the line also, I think. He's just that skilled. He directed Thor, the first Thor, but I think he should act in one at some point.
I think it'd be interesting.
You can't forget about Aaron Taylor Johnson. Was he in Tenet? I don't remember. I'm feeling really stupid right now. Somebody correct me down in the comments, but Tim is a fan favorite for the casting of Harry. Thank you. Please give me.
The only thing that I think of is if he were a more important character, but I can't think of any other character that he could be really good in, honestly. So I'm on board for that.
Me too. He's also saying Matthew McConaughey wanted to play the Hulk, but Marvel simply said no. He's an actual fan.
Good thing they said no. I love Matthew McConaughey. He's a good actor. He would not have been a good Bruce Banner. I completely think he could be something else. Don't think he'd be a good Bruce Banner.
He'd be better Norman Osborn than a Bruce Banner, 100%. Because he can play the evil. Like, I don't know if you saw The Dark Tower with like the Stephen King adaptation with Idris Elba. He played the villain in that one, and he did a damn good job with it. It wasn't the best film by any stretch, but he was one of the legitimate bright spots of the film, I thought. But yeah, there we go. That was. But what was the other thing you wanted to talk about for
one of the weirdest movies that I'm kind of sad got postponed this year was The King's Man. Like
Yeah,
I really liked the first one, the first Kingsman. It was one of the movies that surprised me and how much fun it was watching it. The sequel, it's a sequel, so it was crap compared to the first one, but it was still a fun time. I enjoyed watching it. But then seeing the trailer for this one, which looks balls to the walls, kind of nuts, with Alan Moore, a comic book writer, as Rasputin, like the historical figure Rasputin. It's so bizarre and it fits so well within this world that I want it. It's weird and I like these weird spy type stuff. Like this is like it's like pulp spy novel stuff, but I'm down for that. Like I want more of that because I love the grim realistic 007, and I think it's the reason why it's still relevant today is because they made it more realistic than the other ones in the old generation and made them too silly. So if we have like 007 keeping the serious tone and then Kingsman being the whatever the fuck they want going for it for spy stuff, I'm down for that. I want that movie.
Yeah, me too, man. I love the first Kingsman film. I think it's tons of fun. Second one was okay.
Yeah,
wasn't really all that
it's not
spectacular.
good. I'm not going to say it's good.
I didn't hate it personally, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm see what they do with the prequel. That comes out March 12th as well.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're going
Red.
to change that, honestly.
You
But
think
we'll
so?
see. I think they're probably going to change it.
Maybe a September release. I'll give it as late as September, but anything later than that is just like, can we
It's
just
shooting
see the
themselves in
movie
the
already?
foot. Yeah.
If it's finished, you
Mhm.
know. But moving on, we also do have so Dune. We did talk about earlier. Comes out October 1st.
Yeah, Dune
That
is one of the movies that I really, really, really hope does well in theaters. Like,
it has to.
like genuinely, like I trust Denis Villeneuve with anything now. But knowing that sci-fi is one of the still, unfortunately, a niche like genre in movies and even television, it bugs me to my core, especially because the MCU is kind of it was started off with science fiction. Like Iron Man it's a sci-fi movie, like at its core. And that's why it succeeded, is because it was real enough, but not like fantasy. So people bought into it more effectively, and it made this MCU grounded more in reality, and it helped it propel to where it is now, where they can do whatever the hell they want and made it fantasy. But there has not been another sci-fi or like movie, even based on other stuff, that has been very successful at the box office. Like Blade Runner 2049 is one of my favorite movies of all time. But when you compare it to like how it was when it released, it doesn't even compare to like a normal movie. And that's what sucks, because it's so niche. Even though they're beautiful pieces of art, they just very niche. But Dune has the massive fan base. Like people like Blade Runner, the original, but Dune is so at the core of a lot of sci-fi hearts that I'm hoping that this is going to be one of those movies that kind of just blows people away when you go see it in theaters, that convinces people to treat sci-fi like the way they should the entire time,
Right. Yeah. I'm really, really curious to see what they do with that. I'm not all that familiar with the Dune lore personally, but
not
I mean,
either.
just looking at, like the director involved, and like, not to mention this gigantic cast: Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Batista, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem. I mean, that just to name a few.
Yeah.
It's a stacked cast of talent. Probably the most stacked cast all year.
Exactly. And I want it to succeed because it has all the factors that succeed. A competent director who can live within the source material but change it enough to where it fits the medium, and then stellar cast. And then I think people need sci-fi in movies. I think we need to keep reminding people that we have stuff to aspire to, and that's the one thing that I really want everyone to kind of grasp from like Dune. Like, even if it's like a fantastical story set off like eons in a different place from now, sci-fi I think motivates people to continue to look at the future, and I think we need more of that in 2021.
I wholeheartedly agree, my friend. We are getting so much excellent films in 2021. Dune might be at the top of the list for me personally. Um, if not, if not top of the list, it's certainly one of them. But actually, some breaking news. We were talking about MI6 earlier and how that was one of my favorite action films. We are getting Mission Impossible 7 on November 19th, and it has just been named also.
Oh.
It is going to be called Mission Impossible Libra, like the zodiac sign. Libra is the subtitle.
Is this the one? Is MI7 or is it MI8 the one that Tom Cruise wants to go to space for?
I don't know. Maybe this is the one. I'm not sure. Like,
because either way, that's going to be the first movie. Like, he wants to be the first actor shooting a movie in space, and I think that's fucking awesome. And even though I don't personally like Tom Cruise and his religions, but that fact alone is badass as hell, and I need that in my life.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated to see what they do there. But last month of the year, we do get West Side Story, which is another one that got postponed. Steven Spielberg's directing that. Spider-Man 3, we talked a lot about. The Matrix 4 is coming out in December and getting the HBO Max treatment as well.
I may or may not know people who may or may not have worked on that. And like, considering what like vague details I know, I'm very excited to have this spiritual successor to those movies, especially now that we're super inundated by technology and the internet and like virtual worlds more than ever, more than when these movies came out. Like, I just want to see how a modern Matrix movie like plays out with the general audience, because like from what I may or may not have seen, it is going to be pretty cool. And also, the main actor is to die for. Keanu Reeves is like the golden child right now, and I love that because he deserves it. He is one of the nicest, chillest people you could ever meet.
Apparently, they're trying to coax him into the MCU also. I don't know what role, but
I don't care. Put him in. He'd be great for stuff. I don't know what he could be.
Not Reed Richards, though.
No.
I think he's past that point. John David Washington is my current pick to play Reed Richards right now, by the way.
I don't know who John David Washington is, unfortunately.
Star of Tenet. He's right there on the poster. Yeah. So, So that's a lot.
Roth, you were correct, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, so Matrix 4 was partly filmed. Let's just go through these last few comments, and then we'll pick one film, and then we'll call it a night here. Right. Matrix 4 was partly filmed in SF under the name Project Ice Cream. Project Ice Cream. Oh, that just sounds delicious now. You're making me want ice cream right now. I might just go get some ice cream right after I stop recording here. He's also met Taron Egerton at the same con, and he's saying Taron is a sweetheart.
Oh,
great. That's what I hear, and he seems like a really chill guy, and he's a great actor also. He would not be a bad choice to play the Human Torch. I do think he's a little bit old for that, but because to me, the Human Torch needs to be Tom Holland's age or close to it.
Yeah, I feel like maybe if you were like college age character, to kind of like maybe a different version of like, because Tom Holland's Spider-Man is still in high school, to have like a college character to kind of play off, like, bad boy college character versus his nerdy high school kid might be interesting. But Taron, I think, is a little bit too old for that.
Yeah, I saw just to like address that elephant in the room, just to get this out of the way. I've been seeing the fan castings of Zac Efron as the Human Torch, and I'm like, absolutely not. No way. Because Zac Efron is already past 30 years old, way older than Tom Holland is. He can look the part, but he can't play it right now, I don't think. If you're looking for an Adam Warlock, Zac Efron is it, for sure. But not Human Torch. Speaking of, what's up, Brody? How you doing?
Hey,
McConaughey as Hulk would be awful.
Yes, he would be. He would be wasted, I think, because McConaughey is a good actor. He's genuinely one of like the most fantastic actors of this recent era. And seeing him as Bruce Banner, I think, would be detrimental to him and the character. He would be better served as some other, possibly villain in the MCU, or even a DC villain if they get their shit together. But we'll have to see. Norman Osborn is a good fit. I didn't think about that, but I genuinely think that could work.
Him and Timothy Chalamet as Norman and Harry, like that. Uh, that needs to be it. It has to. Like I won't accept any. I mean, I will accept it, because it's who they pick. But
But at the same time, like part of me kind of wants to have unknowns be those characters, and not have that expectation to live up um, to the previous versions of them, because the previous version of James Franco, and for the life of me, I can't fucking think of his name right now because I'm putting myself on the spot.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, the first Spider-Man. I can't.
I think for Peter, it's Tobey Maguire.
No, not Tobey Maguire. For Green Goblin, I can't remember his name. I know his face. He's in.
Oh,
Willem Dafoe. That's his fucking name. I'm so stupid.
Come on.
I know. That's why I couldn't think of it. I put myself on the spot. Willem Dafoe and James Franco are powerhouse actors. I mean, you can argue about this and that about how James Franco conducts himself, but he's still a good actor. And same with Willem Dafoe. And to have unknowns play characters that people will compare them, back in the day to them, would be, I think, beneficial, because it gets the characters more breathing room and it gives them more ability to kind of carry Spider-Man's and Nemesis into the future, I think. But I trust the MCU casting. I haven't seen one thing that I completely disagreed with. For the most part, I think they got it pretty sound. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah. So far, so good. I trust Feige, but yeah. Other than that, man, just to kind of wrap things up, if you could pick like three films that are your most anticipated of the year, what would you say?
Dune is at the top of the list. I plan on reading that entire book before the movie comes out, or I don't know, because I'm on a crossroads. Like, I want to read it so I can have the source material and understand it, but then I don't want to be one of those people like, the book is better. Why did they do this? Why did they change that? And then I can like compare and contrast. And if I watch the movie first and then read the series, I think I'm excited for Black Widow, and I'm really kind of bummed we didn't talk about this one too much, but one of the movies I was kind of bummed that got pushed back was Ghostbusters Afterlife.
So, I was just thinking that. I was like, we didn't talk about Ghostbusters, did we?
It's like I genuinely think that this is the movie they should have put out instead of the ones with the SNL comedians, because it didn't have heart. It was a corporate product, and I saw that from the get-go. Like, to rub in the point on how bad that movie was, I watched it in college with a bunch of my college friends, and we were all super, super high. And I know this is a PG world, but we were very much inebriated with substances, and we still thought the movie was terrible. That is how bad that movie was. Like, it is, but Ghostbusters Afterlife looks like the movie that should have been made. It's like spiritual reboot. It has the new cast. It's with kids. It looks like it's going to get in the same vein as like the old school 80s movies, like Stand By Me and now Stranger Things and stuff like that. And I actually want it to succeed. I want this to succeed. So I think, you know what? Fuck it. I'll put Ghostbusters up there. But I think I'm more excited for Kingsman because it just looks like a wild ride.
Oh, me too, man. To your point about that 2016 Ghostbusters, I felt really insulted watching that film because every single male character in that flick, go back and watch this just to fact check it to the viewers, but every single male character is either an idiot, a scared coward, or a pretentious asshole. There's no in between there. And
I feel like they may have done that for a specific point, like, because it's a comment on how, I guess, women were treated in previous movies. But at the same time, the movie wasn't good in its own right to justify that critique.
Wasn't funny.
Mm-mm.
It really should have been funnier than it was, considering who was involved. But
they had no chemistry. They had no chemistry. None of the actors had chemistry. That's one of the things that I remembered. McCarthy and Wick were the only ones who had chemistry, and that's because of their own repertoire together. But anybody else mixed with them did not work. Anybody else mixed with them individually did not work. It just did not function well because you lacked that chemistry that the Ghostbusters was completely known for. Like, they all worked well together in the originals, but this one had none of that. And I don't want to talk about that anymore.
I don't either. But as far as let's look at Duff's three real quick: Black Widow, Ghostbusters, and Godzilla versus Kong. That's a good three right there.
I think so too.
My three, I think, would be Dune. Dune is one. Spider-Man 3, and see, I'm really torn between Ghostbusters and Jungle Cruise. I never thought that was a sentence I'd say in my life.
Well, because the reason why I didn't want to have the Marvel movies on here is because I have a really strong feeling that like stuff is going to get postponed, not because of the pandemic, and like I'm just like I feel like Spider-Man, especially with such a late release date, it's going to get pushed and it's going to get shoved a little bit longer. But
yeah, but I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. But my friend, holy crap, we've been recording for 2 hours. This has been such a fun time. I'm to the viewers, definitely expect Francisco on again for more of these Q&As. This is absolutely a blast. Cisco, would you like to plug your show before we go off the air here?
Yeah, of course. So I have a podcast that Zack has been a guest on. It is called The Spoken Misc. It is a podcast about anything and everything, but mostly about reconnecting with people. And it's kind of basically like a variety show where me and my guest ask each other like 10 questions, as personal or as impersonal as you want, as ridiculous or as serious as you want. And you kind of just talk for as long as you feel justified. It's usually around 2 hours, and it's on Spotify. Look up The Spoken Misc. It's also available in a bunch of other, podcast stuff. But most of the people that I know of my age range use Spotify because I use Spotify. And yeah, check out Zack's episode. I can't remember his exact number, but his name is on the episode. So look for Zack's episode. We talk a lot about a different variety of subjects. And I think you get to know Zack and myself a little bit better through that.
Absolutely. And I have left a link to his Spotify channel down in the description box below. So definitely give him some love because he definitely deserves it, my friends. But to the viewers, again, thank you all for your amazing questions. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on your way out as hard as you possibly can. Once again, it's free. It really does help out this channel. And also make sure to leave a thumbs up on your way out as well if you enjoyed hearing me and Cisco argue for a little bit about certain things. But yeah, but definitely expect him back on the channel once again at some point. Somebody requested earlier a Lord of the Rings review, so we'll hopefully we can do that justice if we do end up doing that. So yeah, thanks again, folks. With all that being said, back talk commence.
Thank you so much for having me, Zack.